There is something peculiar unfolding within the highest echelons of the global elite. Jeff Bezos is liquidating billions of Amazon shares to acquire self-sufficient agricultural estates in New Zealand, properties with their own water sources, energy production, and food reserves. Ray Dalio, who manages $150 billion at Bridgewater, is accumulating physical gold like never before. As for Bill Gates, he has become the largest landowner in the United States, 110,000 hectares of agricultural land. These movements are not to be taken lightly. When the world's biggest fortunes massively reallocate their capital at the same time, it's because they anticipate something. But what? The answer lies in an economic paradox that few understand. Technology creates natural deflation. It makes everything cheaper, more efficient, and more accessible. It's simply mathematical. Just look around you. Your smartphone is 1,000 times more powerful than a 90s computer, yet it costs 100 times less. AI now accomplishes in mere seconds what used to take months. Technology consistently divides costs by 10, by 100, by 1,000. And yet, in your lifetime, housing prices have quadrupled in 20 years. Food prices have risen by 40% in 10 years. Education, health, transport, everything is going up. New generations objectively live worse than their parents did at the same age. This is the core contradiction that the ultra-wealthy have truly grasped. Two truly titanic forces are currently clashing head-on: technology, which inherently pushes prices naturally downward, and a monetary system that artificially forces them upward. This invisible battle shapes everything: asset bubbles, explosions of inequality, the erosion of purchasing power, the disappearance of the middle class. Billionaires aren't betting on the apocalypse. They're simply positioning themselves on the right side of economic history. And this is where it becomes absolutely paramount for you, because the ongoing battle between technological deflation and monetary inflation will create winners and losers on a truly massive scale. Warren Buffett has just done something unprecedented in his 60-year career. The man who has always repeated, "Our preferred holding period is forever," has liquidated $184 billion in stocks over 3 years. Absolutely unheard of. Berkshire Hathaway now holds $382 billion in cash, 57% of its total portfolio in liquid assets, a historic record. Buffett isn't the only one acting strangely. Mark Zuckerberg is building a 5,000 square meter complex in Hawaii. The plans reveal underground bunkers, air filtration systems, and food supplies for several years. Estimated cost, $270 million for a family project. Peter Thiel, PayPal co-founder, obtained New Zealand citizenship and bought 193 hectares there. Larry Ellison owns 98% of the island of Lanai in Hawaii. Reid Hoffman, co-founder of LinkedIn, has publicly stated he is preparing plans for an exit from the United States. At the same time, family offices and major banks report that their allocations have radically changed since 2022. Fewer stocks, fewer bonds, more raw materials, agricultural land, precious metals, specifically physical gold, not gold ETFs, but actual physical gold stored in private vaults. BlackRock, the world's largest asset manager, is massively accumulating residential real estate, entire neighborhoods bought up across the United States. In 2024 alone, they invested $120 billion in real estate, and they plan to reach $1 trillion in real estate assets by 2030. These movements have one thing in common: the flight from paper assets to tangible assets. Stocks, bonds, and currencies, everything that is paper is being sold. Land, gold, real estate, raw materials, critical infrastructure, everything that is real is being bought. Ray Dalio, the founder of Bridgewater, sums up the situation: cash is trash. Cash is trash. Coming from the man who manages $150 billion, that certainly makes you think. So why is this happening now? What is it that's driving the brightest minds in the world of finance to restructure their vast fortunes in such a radical way? These people understand a very simple equation, an equation that nobody ever mentions. It's the one concerning technological deflation. Let's take a very practical example now. In 1980, storing a single gigabyte of data cost $300,000. Today, it's less than 3 cents. That's a division by 10 million, not by 2, not by 10, but by 10 million. This staggering fall in cost is not an anomaly. It is the rule. Solar energy has seen its price divided by 500 since 1975. The cost of DNA sequencing has dropped from $100 million to $100, a million-fold decrease in 20 years. This phenomenon can be explained by 3 fundamental laws of technological progress. First, we have Moore's Law. Computing power doubles every 18 months for the same price. This exponential progression transforms the impossible into the commonplace. What once required a supercomputer costing $10 million now fits comfortably in your pocket. Next, we have economies of scale. The more units you produce, the less each one costs. Tesla can now produce an electric car in just 10 hours. Just 10 years ago, it would have taken 100. As a direct result, prices are falling automatically. And finally, there's dematerialization. Your smartphone replaces a camera, a GPS, an encyclopedia, a music player, a game console, a bank. Thousands of euros of equipment condensed into a device costing just 500 euros. These combined forces are creating an unstoppable deflationary spiral. Artificial intelligence is the perfect example. ChatGPT can generate in seconds what took a team of consultants weeks. Millions of jobs are threatened, and entire services become free. Industrial automation follows the same trajectory. A robot that cost $500,000 in 2000 now costs $50,000, and it works 24 hours a day, without breaks, without errors, without a salary. The implications are monumental. Amazon destroyed traditional commerce by breaking down distribution costs. Uber did the very same thing with taxis, and every time the model is identical: to use technology to divide costs by 10 and then conquer the market. In a rational world, this technological deflation should create an era of unprecedented abundance. Prices should collapse, purchasing power should explode, and the work week should drastically shrink. But that's not what's happening. Quite the opposite. How is this possible in a world where technology divides production costs? The answer is quite simple. Our monetary system is actively fighting deflation. It needs prices to go up. It's a matter of its very survival. To truly understand this war between technology and money, we need to go back to the moment when everything shifted. On August 15, 1971, Richard Nixon appeared on American television, and with just a few words, he changed the course of global economic history. We will temporarily suspend the convertibility of the dollar into gold. Temporarily. 53 years later, this suspension is still in effect. That day, humanity begins an unprecedented monetary experiment. For the first time in history, no major currency is backed by anything tangible. Money becomes purely virtual. Central banks gain unlimited power to create money. The consequences are immediate. The global money supply is exploding. The dollar loses 96% of its value in 50 years. An apartment that cost $20,000 in 1970 is worth $400,000 today. But why does this system still continue? Why are governments so determined to create inflation? The answer lies in one single word: debt. Global debt today has reached into the millions of billions of dollars. This mountain of debt creates an absolute dependence on inflation. When a government borrows $100 billion over 10 years at 3%, it must repay $130 billion. But if the average inflation is also 3% annually, those $130 billion will only be worth $95 billion in real purchasing power. In other words, inflation erodes the debt. Without inflation, the system collapses. States can no longer repay their debts. Over-indebted companies are going bankrupt. Banks are collapsing. It's the 1930s deflation, but even worse. The Fed, ECB, Bank of Japan all target a minimum of 2% inflation. When the economy slows down, they cut interest rates. And when that's not enough, they simply print money. Quantitative easing, monetary easing, helicopter money. Names change, but the principle remains: to create money to keep prices rising. Since 2008, central banks have created $25 trillion. That's more than the entire US GDP. And that money didn't simply vanish. Instead, it inflated the prices of various assets. Stocks, bonds, real estate, everything just absolutely exploded. The S&P 500 index has multiplied by 6 since 2009, and real estate prices in major cities have doubled, tripled, and even quadrupled. This asset inflation automatically enriches capital holders. If you owned $1 million in shares back in 2009, you now have $6 million today, without doing a single thing, just by benefiting from the money printing. Meanwhile, wages remain stagnant. The median American salary has increased by 15% in 20 years. Real estate by 150%, education by 200%, healthcare by 250%. The rich own assets that appreciate with monetary inflation. Middle classes earn wages that don't keep up, and the gap widens mechanically. But the most perverse aspect of this system is that it punishes savings. Putting money aside guarantees you'll lose your purchasing power. The interest rates on savings accounts are below inflation. Your savings are melting away like snow in the sun. That's exactly what Ray Dalio meant with his cash is trash. And speaking of which, I'll take this opportunity. If you enjoy this economic analysis format, to support us, it's simple, it's free, and it's powerful. All you need to do is subscribe and hit the bell. To return to the subject, this house of cards holds as long as the music continues. But the problem is, the technology refuses to play this melody. It pushes prices down while central banks push them up. This war between natural deflation and artificial inflation can only have 3 outcomes. First scenario, hyperinflation. Central banks accelerate monetary creation to counter technological deflation. The money printing machine spins faster and faster, prices skyrocket, purchasing power crumbles, savings are annihilated. This scenario has happened before. Germany, 1923, Zimbabwe, 2008, Venezuela, 2018. Each time, the pattern is identical. Faced with a crisis, the state prints massively. Money loses its value, prices double daily. People use wheelbarrows of cash to buy bread. The warning signs are already visible. Official inflation underestimates the reality. The calculation methods have been modified to minimize the reported figures. Real estate, education, and healthcare are no longer being properly accounted for, and actual inflation significantly exceeds official statistics. The second scenario is brutal deflation. Central banks lose all control, technology takes over, prices plummet, indebted companies go bankrupt in a cascade, and unemployment explodes. It's the Great Depression, version 2.0. This scenario absolutely terrifies economists. In a world burdened by debt, reaching 350% of GDP, deflation spells financial apocalypse. Debts become utterly impossible to repay, nations default on their obligations, banks collapse, and the global financial system implodes. Japan offers a stark glimpse of this future. Despite 30 years of ultra-accommodative monetary policy, deflation persists. Young people no longer buy, they rent everything. The economy stagnates despite the trillions injected. Third scenario, the Great Reset. The current system is abandoned. A new monetary architecture emerges. Central bank digital currencies are replacing physical cash. The government controls every transaction. Universal basic income is becoming the new standard. Private property is progressively abolished in favor of a perpetual allocation. This scenario combines the worst of both worlds. Hyperinflation destroys all existing savings, and then a new, ultra-controlled system prevents any future accumulation of wealth. You will own nothing, and you will be happy, as predicted by the World Economic Forum. In the face of these scenarios, the ultra-rich have already chosen their strategy. They are positioning themselves to survive and prosper, no matter the outcome. The first rule, accumulate what cannot be printed. Bill Gates' agricultural land, Ray Dalio's physical gold, the raw materials of family offices. These assets retain their value in all scenarios. Second rule, control essential resources, water, food, energy. Bezos and Zuckerberg's self-sufficient compounds are not the whims of paranoid billionaires. They are insurance against the collapse of supply chains. Third rule, geographical diversification. New Zealand, Singapore, Switzerland. The ultra-rich spread their assets across stable jurisdictions, far from geopolitical tensions. The good news is, you don't need to be a billionaire to apply these principles. Here are the concrete actions everyone can take at their own level. First, reduce your exposure to the traditional banking system. Every year, your savings lose 5 to 10% of their purchasing power. Next, diversify into tangible assets. Physical gold is still readily available. Commodity ETFs are also an option. Even a small vegetable garden provides a form of food resilience. The important thing is to possess something tangible, not just paper assets. Rental real estate, despite its inherent constraints, remains a solid protection against inflation. Rents adjust, and your mortgage debt effectively diminishes with inflation. This is exactly what BlackRock does on a very large scale. Your skills are truly the best investment. To learn how to produce, repair, and create value without relying on the system, manual trades, long undervalued, are becoming precious again. A plumber will always be needed. Well, at least until humanoid robots replace him too. Technology will continue its march towards deflation, and costs will keep falling. Artificial intelligence, renewable energy, and automation will accelerate this phenomenon. Central banks might win a few battles, but they will lose the war. The ultra-rich have understood this. Their massive movements into real assets are not billionaire whims, but rather the alarm signals of an imminent paradigm shift. The question is not whether the current system will collapse, the question is when and how. Time is of the essence. The window for action is closing. The prices of real assets are already going up. Gold, land, real estate are becoming inaccessible to the middle classes. In 5 years, it will be too late. Those who will have understood and acted will look with pity upon those who will have preferred the comfort of ignorance to the discomfort of truth. The rules of the game have changed. It's up to you to decide if you'll stick with the old or embrace the new while there's still time. So, in your opinion, what future do you think we're heading for? Tell me in the comments. I read every single one. If this video has taught you something, like it now. We'll be back very soon for another video. And until then, make sure to protect your money.